friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts. So I am here today with Zoé Zuno Golden and her husband, David, and just wanted to first off welcome you guys to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
And you guys are living in Guadalajara, Mexico, and have two daughters, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Two beautiful little girls.
Aw, and what are their ages right now, if you don't mind sharing?
Just turned 9 and 6 years old. Yeah.
9 and 6. Okay, that's super fun ages because you're starting to see, I feel like, so much personality and
Absolutely.
like they're involved in activities and things. So
Yep.
I'm sure it's a full and fun life.
Absolutely. They definitely keep us on our toes. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I am so excited to get to hear more about, especially Zoé, the work that you are doing. And I know you and David collaborate a lot as well on your work with Procora, which is your arts company that you started. So we're going to kind of dive into your journey and then into more about what you're doing with your company and just hearing about what God is up to in Guadalajara, which is so exciting. So first of all, Zoé, do you want to just share a little bit about your background, kind of what your life was like growing up and kind of what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. I born in Monterrey, which is the north in Mexico. And since I was a little girl, I loved to dance. And, I have all my friends in my house and I was trying to create all these choreographies and I want them to dance with me. But something very interesting is that I never have any dance training.
Okay.
My parents never have the opportunity or the resource, talking about economical resource, to take me to some dance classes.
Right.
So that was kind of like my frustrated dream that I never was able to take some dance classes. Mm-hmm. So I remember very well when I was 11 years old, somebody from our church in Monterrey, she says that she wants to start a dance team at the church. So I was so excited because finally somebody was going to teach me some dance.
Yes.
But at that time, my parents decided to move to Zamora, which is 2 hours away from Guadalajara.
Okay.
So was exactly in that moment when they were about to start a dance team in my church in Monterrey is when my parents decided to move.
Oh, no.
So
you're like,
I just, right. And I just remember begging my dad to do not move because I really want to take some dance classes. Mm-hmm. And I kind of remember that my dad, when I was 10 years old, he took me to some music classes because they were free.
Okay.
So I did some music classes when I was a child. And I just remember, Rachel, like walking at the school and to try to get to my music classroom, I passed through the dance classroom. And I can see all these little girls doing some ballet, but I can see through the window and me having a huge desire to be part of that dance class, but it was not possible. But going back, like when my church finally was going to have a dance team, that's when my parents decided to move. So it really hurt me so much. Mm-hmm. And I remember the words of my dad telling me, do not worry. First, something that I have to tell you, the reason why my parents moved is because they're pastors and they were about to start a church.
Yeah.
So I remember my dad said, don't worry. God, on his time, he's going to give you the opportunity to dance and just keep your heart and be obedient to God. And maybe you don't understand everything, but one day you will have everything that you're losing. Wow. And so we moved. I was 11 years old. And when I was 15, I remember somebody from our church, she says, I want to start a dance team in the church. Mm-hmm. So finally, I start dancing in church. but it was not professional. I never have a professional training. So I decided at college to go to a dance college so I can start dancing. And so it was until 18 years old when I took my first professional dance classes.
Wow,
So
that's incredible.
I came to Guadalajara and I made some auditions. And, I think I was so brave because I took that audition without training.
That's it. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it.
I have no clue the names of the movements. And I just was there following everybody, And I think it was a miracle that they were able to accept me, I say, yeah, you can be part of this school from the college. So I started taking some dance classes when I was 18, and it was very hard. I think you're a dancer too, right?
Yes, I am. Yes.
So I can
imagine.
So very well the difference when you're a kid, a little girl, that you're taking dance classes, and when you get to college, you have a very good amount of time of training.
Right.
And when you start dancing when you're 18, when you start learning all these weird words in French, tendues, rondejams.
Exactly.
I'm like, what? I'm like, what they're talking about, right? So I was here in Guadalajara on my third year. Obviously, everybody was so advanced. I was way too behind. And I did not care. I was so excited because finally, for so long, I'm able to take some dance classes. Yeah. So one time in my house, I just felt like I wanted to go to a dance Christian school.
Christian dance school.
Christian dance school, yeah.
Yeah.
And I get on the internet and I just start typing and searching from a dance Christian school. Did I say it right?
Christian.
I am sorry.
We live in Mexico. We speak Spanish all the time, so you know how it's
how to flip it. Exactly. No, you're doing amazing. It's so good.
Thank you. So I found Belhaven College.
Yes. What's fun is I actually attended Belhaven as well for college. Yes. So definitely a lot of connection there.
Yeah. So I just decided, I want to go there. It's Christian. And yes, I just was telling myself, yes, I can do it. I want to move out of the country. I want to keep moving, and I was all dreaming. So I just picked an email and I started writing and asking for information. I just said, I'm a dance leader at my church. I want to keep learning because I'm very passionate about dance and how dance can inspire others to follow Christ and all this kind of stuff. And the person said, oh yeah, just send the pictures, auditions, and all the things that you have to do.
Right.
And they said, I think you qualify for a 1-year certificate, the dance certificate, and we can give a scholarship. And was everything great? What I did not know that I was talking with Mrs. Newland.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that I was talking with the secretary or somebody, an assistant.
Yes.
And I was talking with Mrs. Newland, and that year, how do you say, the director chair?
Yeah.
Yes.
Faculty chair.
Okay.
And that time she was the director of the whole faculty, dance faculty. So I just told my parents, I want to move. They said that they can accept that I'm able to take this 1-year dance certificate. And my parents were like, what are you talking about? It's going to cost so much money. And so for me to go and study to United States, I have to have a student visa. And for me to get a student visa, I have to prove that I have all the money for the whole year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that would be tough.
Yes. God make a miracle. I think that there was not that expensive. They gave me a very good scholarship. And my dad just told me, just wait for 1 more year so we can save money, we can work. And we work really hard so I can be at Belhaven. So when I went to Belhaven, I was very excited but I never knew how difficult it was going to be because the English, the language.
Yeah.
So, and also I realized that the level of these dancers was higher than the level of the dancers at my school here in Mexico.
Yeah.
And it was a completely different world. So I don't know if you were able to meet Mrs. Tucker.
Yes, Ravenna Tucker.
Ravenna, right. Ravenna. So her English, and I think she's from Singapore, or I don't know. It was very difficult for me to understand her,
Yeah.
So the accents and everything was very complicated for me. So I remember the first week that I was there, I was trying to figure it out, all these classes. I think they call for all the new dancers to be in the whole room so they can tell you which level are you going to be in ballet and modern dance. I don't know if I'm explaining well enough.
Yeah, kind of like a placement class or something.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I was in my room and a dancer walked past and said, Zoe, you didn't go to the audition or the replacement. And I just started running. I started running and I just grabbed my ballet tights and everything. I was just running and everybody were in the classroom and doing the ballet movements, and all the teachers, instructors, they were just taking notes. And I remember looking through the window and Mrs. Newland says, look at the watch and says, walk in. And I was so embarrassed. And everybody was dancing already on the bars. So I hold the bar and I think I was so nervous and I didn't understand nothing.
Yeah.
So you can have an idea. When everybody were up, I was down.
Oh.
When everybody was down, I was up. Everybody turned to the left, I was turning to the right. And I was trying to follow the guy who was in front of me. It was so much stress because I did not understand the language. Everybody were so amazing, good. And, and I remember in that moment, Rachel, somebody said, okay, let's start modern dance. Let's change classes. So I saw everybody, I will never forget. They have the pink ballet tights, but convertible,
Yeah.
and I did not have those. In Mexico, we didn't have those kind of tights that you can just put it up and be a modern. I have the whole thing. So, and I'm like, what they're doing? What are they wearing? So I started going to the bathroom and trying to find for scissors, trying to cut the tights so I can be part of the modern dance. And I remember somebody came and says, you can do it, keep going. And I'm like, no, I can't. This is too much for me. So when I was not able to, how do you say,
to
tear my tights, I'm like, I need to go. And I decide, I think I need to go back to Mexico. I don't think this place is for me. I think I drink too much. So I get out of the classroom. I start walking to my room, putting everything in my suitcase. I think I only was my second day. I'm like, I need to go back to Mexico. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go back and talk to Mrs. Newland and say, thank you for this great opportunity, but I do not belong here. So I remember walking back, look for her. And she asked me, why you did not say? What happened? What's wrong? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just coming here to give you thanks, to give me this amazing scholarship. But I just realized that this is too much for me. The language, everybody's way better than me. You can see the difference. And I think I don't belong here. So I think I need to go back where I belong. And she said, no, you're not going back.
Yeah.
You are here because you have a purpose, and the plan of God is for you to be here. And you need to understand that it's going to be really hard times and you have to keep pushing. And don't compare yourself with others. God gave you something special for you that maybe you don't know yet what it is, but on his perfect time, you're going to know what it is.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you, go back to your room and I wait for you in class tomorrow. So
Love it.
thanks to that conversation, my whole life changed.
Wow.
And I can tell you that day I realized what I'm here for in this life. And I think that day, and that deepest in my heart, Procora born.
Wow.
That's when Procora started.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of my childhood.
That's beautiful. Yes. Thank you for sharing your journey. And I love just seeing how God was putting these things in place. And, you were so many times in situations where you had to stretch beyond your comfort zone and just, continue to step in faith forward. And I imagine from what I know of your story that didn't stop there either. God has continued to, bring you to new places and stretch your faith. So excited to hear about that. And I'm curious, David, so when did you enter the story here? When did you and Zoe meet?
So I came to Mexico. It was my first trip, like a missions trip in 2002. So she had been living in Zamora where her dad planted the church for about 5 or 6 years at that point. And the church was still meeting. They would rent a place on Wednesdays and Sundays, and it was kind of an open air place. The weather's so great down here.
Yeah.
And I'm from the United States. I'm from a tradition where we didn't have dance in the church or part of that. And so it was, I remember my first experience in their church. We got there and we went to their Wednesday night service. And I remember I didn't know anybody. And I remember seeing the dance team for the first time. And it was impressive. To me, it was just so interesting to see, them dancing. And, I'll be honest, I noticed how the smile and the joy, but there was one person that literally stood out from all of the other dancers. I don't know if there's probably about 15 or 20. And I didn't know who she was until later on. Oh, it's the pastor's daughter, but there was something that I noticed in her from the very first time before I knew her name, knew who she was or anything like that while she was dancing, she had the biggest smile. She was definitely, and I don't know anything about dance. I know a lot more about dance now than I did specifically then. She's every movie that comes out with dancing or the Dancing with the Stars. I've learned a lot about dance, since then. But at that time, I didn't know anything. All I knew was, man, she's the one that's like genuinely passionate and worshiping God through the dance, which was something completely new to me. So that was my first experience. So she was about to go to Guadalajara for those 3 years that she studied here whenever we started talking and started communicating. So our whole relationship was long distance. Wow. And the year that she was at Belhaven is the year that we got married. Oh, so cool. we during that school year, we got married, taking advantage that she had a visa to be in the United States. Our lawyer kind of said that would be a good time to go ahead and do it. So I mean, even the first 6 months of our marriage was long distance because she was at Belhaven and I was up near Chicago, so, and how she brought, Mrs. Newland, she calls her Mrs. Newland. We have such an incredible connection with her now because I'm probably ruining the story for Zoe, but years later, Zoe founder got back in touch, and just kind of to say thank you because that day that changed her life where Procora was born in her heart. She just started telling her, look at what we're doing now. And that brought Cynthia back into our life and became really a mentor. I mean, she's, spiritual guidance and just wisdom. She became like my health coach and started teaching me a lot of stuff about health and wellness. And I'm like, so where did you learn that? And I did the same thing, took the certificate program and all this kind of different stuff. Just been such a integral part to what we're doing today with Procora.
That's so neat. Thank you so much for sharing that too. I love hearing the backstory a little bit for you guys and as a family can now the ministry that you're doing together, which is so cool. So that is, like you said, where that vision for Procora was born. And then do you want to share a little bit about what Procora is and what you do, and then maybe how it has kind of grown and evolved over the years?
Yeah. And in 2007 is when I started Procora. is when I graduated from the 1-year dance certificate at Belhaven in 2007. So, at Belhaven, I learned how to structure like a dance concert. We have the dance concerts, and I started loving production. And I love one of the things that I really enjoy is choreography. So, and creating and production and concerts and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, I think I can make this event at my parents' church, music and dance. So I can invite all the dancers and musicians from different churches that they want to prepare, and trying to teach them and inspire them to study professionally. Sometimes when they are in a dance team in a church or a music, they're not really professional. It's just like a service collaboration.
Yeah, just ministry. Doing it for like a hobby kind of a thing.
And here in Mexico, everything is they don't practice. They doesn't look that good. So, and I want them to see that we can do very good things for God, or excellent things with God. And I want them to tell them there was nothing wrong to take music classes, dance classes. So, and because these people, they didn't have the economic resource to go and take classes. So I started creating this event for musicians and dancers. So they will come for 3 days. And we have these music and dance services. And during the day, we'll teach classes for music, musicians, and dancers. But we start having a problem when these young people went back to their churches. They were so excited and inspired, and they want to do all these changes on their churches. Their pastors, they didn't understand what was going on.
Oh, yeah, I can see how that would happen for sure.
Or the leaders were talking about, who is this Zoé or David? Or who is this Procora? What are you talking about? Because it was something new in 2007, So I decided that we need to find a new strategy. And the strategy was that I need to create also these classes for pastors and leaders. So they can come and see what we do with music and dance. So the pastor can say, you know what? I want that in my church. You know what? I want this kind of event in my church. So every year it started growing. In 2007, I only have like between 25 and 30 people in my event. 2008, I kind of remember we have like only 150. But moving in 2019, we have 1,500 people.
Wow.
But in 2019, we already have more than 11, like people from different countries, more than 11 countries coming to my event.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In 2000. So we're pastors, leaders, musicians and dancers, and I started including all this kind of art, photography, drawing, painting. So that's how we started growing. So something that was in me is that I want to create our own music.
Ooh, yes.
And stop just using soundtracks or music from different kind of artists. I think the Procora needed their own music. So I needed very good professional music.
Musicians and dancers don't always speak the same language. So there was a little bit of a communication thing, her expressing what I want and then getting it, a musician to be able to, to put it in the harmonic and musical and rhythmic form that she wants it.
And for a musician to listen to dance, a dancer said, I want this kind of song. I want this rhythm and this melody. I want the song. This is the lyrics of the song that I need. It's like, what are you talking about? You're a dancer,
right?
So I decide that I need to gain some respect. So, musicians, one of the dreams from musician is to go to Berklee College at Boston.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I found online classes and I started taking online classes for Berklee. And so my first course that I took was concert touring. And it was very funny because we started like 20 people and everybody introducing themselves. What do you do? And everybody's such incredible musicians. And with that, they asked me, what do you do? I'm a dancer. And everybody like, what is she doing here?
I love that.
So I have in mind that I want to have the best grade because I want my teacher to come to my event. Because if I brought somebody from Berkeley at Boston to my event, all the musicians are going to say, Zoe has a good connections with one of the greatest teachers at the best school of music.
That's so smart. I love that tactic.
So from that intense course, we were able to finish only 2 people.
Wow.
From 20, only 2 people. So I write the teacher and said, you know what? I do this event, blah, 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 blah. And he said, Zoe, I can't. He said, I can't. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to take another one. And I took music business management. So again, I tried to push myself so I can have a very good grade. And I think we finished only 3 people from 20. And I write my teacher. That teacher was so smart because he was able to teach us how to negotiate, with money when you want to get something, a venue and everything. So he was very smart. And so when I finished the course, I sent him an email. I said, Professor, I have this event in Mexico and I would like to, so you can come. I only want you to come and just sit down and see my concert, see all this dance thing. And I want you to give me a critique that I will pay your plane ticket, hotel. And I just want you to go and sit down and see how I am doing.
Right.
Because for me, it was like just the fact that his presence in the event was going to make such a huge difference with the musicians.
Right.
And he says, yeah, Zoe, I would like to go. And I was so excited. And he said, I remember, well, how much are we talking about? Let's negotiate. How much you can offer me? How much are you going to be able to pay me to go? And
testing her on what she learned in his class.
Yeah, so I said, well, I can pay you your plane ticket at this kind of hotel, and I only have this amount of dollars. He said, no, that's too low, how much I make. Can you tell her very quick what he does like on the...
So, I mean, in addition to being a professor at Berkeley, he creates businesses, he sold businesses, he's writes for like the Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. So he's a consultant. He's a business consultant. He's
CVS pharmacy.
Yeah. I mean, he helps marketing plans for these huge companies. I mean, he's very, very well known in the business world. He's working on huge projects all the time,
Okay.
so this is somebody who, when he goes into consult, he's going to make a large, dollar amount to, for an hour of his time. And here she's asking him, come for 3 days, and we'll give you this much, and,
Exactly.
and he's, so
That's fun. Yeah.
So he said, no, that's too low, but come on, I want to keep talking to you. I don't want to give up. What else you can offer me? And I said, well, I can give you this little more. No, Zoe, it's too low. One more chance. You have one more chance. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm a woman. I'm in Mexico. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. And the only thing I'm trying to do is to inspire others that we can do better. One day, a woman believed in me, that I knew that I was feeling that I was not good enough. And she believed in me. And that's what I want to do in others so they can start believing in themselves. And I know if you go, you can inspire so many young people. They are wishing to take some music classes, or even their dream is to go to Berkeley, but probably never are going to be able to go because it's so expensive. But you know what? I think you are right. In the class, you were teaching us the whole semester that these greatest companies, music companies, if you don't have a famous name, they're not going to pay attention to you. And I said, so maybe one day I'm going to be famous enough so you can pay attention to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully one day I can have the money so I can pay what you're worth. And he says, I'm going to your event.
Wow. Yes.
So, and he says, and I'm not going just to see it, to sit down and just to watch your whole event. I want to teach classes.
That's amazing. Yes.
And I'm going to take that amount of money that you're saying. So tell me, I'm going to be there. So my professor came. He was, I don't know, he was in Europe in that moment, and he flew to Mexico, showed up in the event. So 1,500 people there. Said, what's going on here? All the young people, can I take a picture with you? Yeah. And he was so touched that how he saw these people so excited having a Berkeley teacher in Mexico. Yeah. You know, they were not able to go to Berkeley, but Berkeley came to them. Wow. So that gave me so much credit for professional musicians here in Mexico. He said she was able to take some courses to Berkeley. She also was able to bring somebody from Berkeley. So that means she has something to offer. Wow. And that I have been growing so much connection, very famous musicians. They are in world tours. And now every year says, what's going on, Zoe? What are we doing this year for the event? And everybody wants to be part of us, part of our team, because something very unique about Procora, Rachel, is that on the stage, I invite dancers with no training. Yeah. And I made them to dance, to look very good, but they're sharing the stage with professional musicians, also with professional dancers, professional engineers, lighting, audio, in one of the greatest and biggest venues in our country. Wow. So yeah, for them, it is like a dream come true, right? So they go back to their churches and now they're creating these art events. So I think that's what is Procora, to inspire others that we can be used by God through the art to remind us why we are here for in this earth. Wow,
that's so beautiful. And I imagine that, so these different professionals coming in, are all of them part of the church or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. Awesome. Most of them, they're not Christians.
Yeah, I love that.
They're not Christian. And I work, part of my professional staff, they're not Christians. Mm-hmm. And they love working with us because they said, it feels different. The concerts here feels different than our concerts outside.
And one of the things, and I know that, might be a little bit controversial or questionable, like, why are you guys working with people, who aren't musicians? Because first of all of the young people and the audience, we don't want to limit the audience in any way, but most of the people that are following us are church people. They come from the network that we're in. Right. But what she's trying to do is say, look at the standard, of excellence, that the world has, and they're doing this for fame or for recognition, right, for themselves, and look at the level that they're able to achieve. And if we're supposed to be doing this for God, to bring him the glory and to make him known, why are we going to do it at a lower level? Mm-hmm. And one of the funny things is, when we brought her professor in from Berkeley, we presented the event to him as an arts event, music event, concert, and things like that. Yes. And we kind of didn't emphasize the fact, that right, it's a church event or anything like that. And so I was the one that was, I was translating for him, and some of the words that he would use whenever they weren't. And so like 99% of the people that were there understood why he was up there, and what he was teaching, was philosophy of music and business, and how to an artist can, put themselves out there and different things like that, but I had to, my face, I'm somebody, when you look at me, what I'm thinking just by my facial expressions, and I'm like, how am I going to say what he's saying, and things like that. And, and there was a few people like, what is he doing on the stage? Using that kind of word. But the whole point was that we want to inspire people to do more and to be excellent. And sometimes it's hard to find that in the church.
Right.
You don't always find that philosophy or that idea. You know, a lot of times the mentality of mediocrity, oh, this is for God. Anything is good. Well, it should be the best.
Yeah.
And
so true.
so
Love that.
but most of the musicians that and a lot, I can't say most, but I mean, there's a lot that we do work with that they are professional, but they're also Christians. They work in, we've worked with bass players and sound engineers that they have, that they're also people of faith, but they don't work in the church. They do all of their work in the secular field.
Makes sense.
And the people that they're bringing with them, they see a difference in our event, like what she was saying, like, man, the feeling, the atmosphere, and they see that what she's striving for is a level of excellence and professionality with the production, but that has a different feel. So that's what we're trying to get, the best of both worlds.
Yes, that would be so powerful, I think, for people to witness and be a part of, and seeing, like you said, that there can be excellence in the church, and not only can there be, but there should be, right? Because we're, like you said, we're doing this for the Lord. So yeah, I love that so much. And just the connections in the community that you guys are building there and across the world is so inspiring. And I know you've done a lot of international travel with getting to speak and, put on events and things like that. And how have you, I guess, seen God at work in the arts across the earth right now?
I think that the people find so much hope in the art, in the different, is something very interesting, because every country on the art is different.
Yeah, that's true.
That is very different. For instance, Brazil, every dancer that you see at the church, every dancer are receiving, getting teaching dance classes. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, because in Brazil, since you're a little girl, you can take dance classes. It's part of the culture. But if you go to, for instance, Guatemala, in Guatemala, it's not. Because that kind of mentality is different. But every church has a dance team in Guatemala, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but I think when the art, what they're trying to have these churches, they use it for young people to try and, like, the perfect excuse to be connected with God, to trying to keep them at church. But when we go and speak to these people, it's more than that. For us, it's something that you can stay here at church, but also you can express from your heart a message from God to so many.
Yes.
And Christians, no Christians, or from all kinds of religions. And I do really think art has been such a high impact. But also we have been noticing that the art is losing power. I'm going to talk about my country. People, they are not paying too much attention on the art. So what is happening is that the kids or young people are more focused on the cell phones, digital platforms and stuff like that. At schools, there's no art classes anymore. So that is affecting society. So I do really think that art can make a huge difference in people's life, even kids, young people, even adults, and also that God can use art to bring us a message of hope. So I do really think that we need to keep working really hard to maintain the value of the art in our homes, in our churches, in our cities, and in our countries.
Well said, for sure.
If I can share one memory that came to mind.
Yes, I would love that.
Before we were married, the man who brought me to Mexico was like a missionary evangelist, and I started traveling with him some, and came to Mexico, went with him to Trinidad, and went with him to Bulgaria.
Okay.
And Bulgaria, Eastern Europe, this was after the wall had fallen, and they got their freedom from communism and things like that. But it was still such an kind of a cold, kind of oppressed feeling whenever you're there ministering. And it's not always easy to share the gospel, because we would work with this organization and we would go and we would, feed, the poor, but then we would also invite the people to come out and listen to, presentation of the gospel.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she went with us as part of the team, that went with us the second and the third time that I went there, and she would, put on her uniform and, do everything. And we would go into sometimes these villages, and, they didn't have a platform or anything like that. This one place I remember, they brought her into this house and took her up on the roof. And it was like, and people are all in the street, and she's on the roof and dancing to the song, and the how that dance, that song, because they didn't understand the lyric. They didn't understand maybe the dance is different than their culture, because we were actually, I think, in a gypsy village at that time. It might have been different, but there's something universal about music and about dance, about the arts, that it changed the atmosphere. Wow. It really prepared the atmosphere, and it really made a difference in those ministry trips whenever she was there doing that. That was something that definitely, made an impact on me, because again, I come from a culture where it's not really, part of the way that we do church or religion or worship, but it definitely made a big difference on those places.
Yes, that's incredible. And I think it's such a good encouragement for everyone that's listening. Majority of people that listen to this podcast are artists of some kind. They would call themselves an artist, and whether that's in dance or music, visual art, and just to hear, there is a purpose in it, and that God is using it to, like you said, kind of push past some of those barriers that tend to be between maybe us and who we're, getting to share with. Just so beautiful, and such an encouragement, I think, for everyone today. So I would love to talk a little bit about dreams, because I feel like that's a big part of your story, Zoe, is that dream that you feel like, God put in your heart, even early on, just to be able to dance and to take classes, and having that sort of have obstacles along the way. And I love your heart for helping others, pursue their dreams. And so what encouragement might you have for people that they have maybe a dream in their heart and their spirit, but they haven't had the opportunity to pursue that yet? Any words of encouragement that you might have for them today?
Yeah. Well, I think that the best words that I can say is what that woman 20 years ago, she told me, that I'm talking about Mrs. Newland, that it's going to be hard times and we need to push. And always, everything, and every day, every hour, every minute, every second has a purpose from God. And I do really think that when we find our purpose in life, we have this motivation to keep going, because every dream has to have a purpose. It's not just about dreaming. It has to be a why I do have this dream. And every time, if you read in the Bible, God, you can see several times or multiple times, God is speaking to us that we need to love each other's, and we need to help each other's, and and we need to be as brothers, as sisters. And I do really think that our dreams, our talents, our capacities is to help humanity, is to help society. And it's part of life. When you have an obstacle, it's going to be part of life, because that is going to help you to grow. And we need to understand that the life is comes with problems, comes with good times, bad times, but also with problems. But the problems are made to make us stronger. And I just want to tell everybody that do not give up. I'm somebody that, like I said in the beginning, my first class when I was 18, and I never dreamed what we're doing right now, all these events, and how God has been doing miracles through the art. And I'm so thankful to God for somebody that just stopped me and said, no, you're not quitting. You need to keep going. And I think God always is going to send you somebody to don't let you to quit, to don't let you to stop, and that you need to keep going, because everybody we have in our hearts, God has been given to us all the resources, spiritual resource, natural resource, capacities, gifts. So we have everything to conquer whatever we want in this life with his help.
Yes, so good. We have a few minutes left. I just want to open it up. Are there any other stories that come to mind that you want to share about just how you've seen God moving where you guys are in Guadalajara, or as you've been traveling as well?
Yeah, my last event from Procora last summer, we have that event in Monterrey, where I born for first time. And the biggest university in the city, they have a orchestra. Do I understand right? Yeah. Orchestra. So I create this play. So I want a music live with an orchestra. And I wanted it for them to be part of my event. So I went in months before my event. I went and looked for them and said, you know what? I have this play. I would like to know how much you guys, all the requirements that I need for you guys to be part of my event. And so they said, well, explain us what is about the play and everything. And obviously that the play is about different kind of stories of the Bible, right? You know, and they said, you know what? We have this problem that your event is a Christian event, and this university, we cannot be part of any religious event. And I'm like, well, it's just stories. All these stories are taken from a history book, right. You know, it's just a play. And so, well, we're going to talk with all the counselors from the orchestra. To long story short, and I remember was in January, they called me and said, you know what, Zoé, I know you have been so persistent because you want us there, but I think we have decided that we might not be able to help you because we have the issue that is a religious event. No, the story is religious, that what you want to present on the play is religious, and we can't. And I said, well, I'm just going to ask you a question. Last month in December, you guys were playing in the biggest venue here in the city. And I would like to know, what did you play? What kind of music did you play? And they said, oh, about Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, because it was Christmas. And what I said, and when they finished the word, and I said, you're right. And I said, exactly. You were saying, you were playing a story from the same book that I'm taking the stories. So, and you are telling me that you cannot play because it's a religious story, and you played as a religious story last month in front of 10,000 people from the city of the city. Right. And I said, yes, you're right. We're going to play with you. So they were able to participate with us this past summer. It's the first time that the orchestra from that university are part of a Christian event. They have never done it before. And I'm just telling you that this is a miracle from God and just grace of God with us. Yes. And so they're playing and all these, the dancers and everything. And David was there. After the event, we went back, him and I, to the university. They invite us to be part of a music concert because we become very good friends with the orchestra people. Yeah. And so they give us this letter, and they said that anytime that we need them to be playing for us, they're going to be more than happy to do it. Wow. Because it was such an honor to be part of us.
That's so neat. Yes.
So
cool.
That's another crazy story.
Yes. Such a good story to kind of show just how God moves and makes a way, you know, where it feels like there's no way. Yeah. And I just love y'all's relationship dynamic as well, and the way that you support one another. And I heard that you guys are doing a marriage event soon or coming up.
Well, it's going to be part of the Procora, the event this year. We're going to do a talk, you know, about marriage, and because, so that's what the event has kind of evolved into now. It's trying to help people grow in every area of their life, you know. And so during the 2 or 3 day event, we give different classes. So not only dance and music, but also leadership and, you know, things to help people emotionally, because we understand that you got to grow in every area. You can't just grow in one area of your life, you know,
Right,
so we're going to be,
connected.
Tomorrow night, we're actually going to do a live event online, you know, to kind of tease that out, you know, and talk about marriage, because one of the things when you're talking about dreams and following your dreams and things like that, the dynamic that you're mentioning here is interesting because we're complete opposite.
Really?
I'm practical, analytical, you know, and always worried about how are we going to do this? You know, she's got these huge dreams. Okay, but how are we going to actually make it happen?
Right.
It doesn't seem realistic to me, all that. And so, I mean, it's definitely been a challenge for me having the different personality, you know, and things like that, where I'm really not a dreamer. I'm like, you know, feet planted, you know,
right.
realistic.
Which we need as well,
and
for sure.
well, but what it's taught me though is like, so one verse in Ephesians that I have to remind myself is that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you ask or think. And God's always been faithful. He's always made a way. And that's something that has been such a learning experience to me. You know, don't be limited by my personality or by my realism or whatever, you know, to believe in dreams. And so it might not be me following my dream, but like helping her support her and her dreams has taken me to places I would have never gone, you know, with my realism.
Right. So. Yes. And that he brought you guys together for a purpose and being able to help support each other in that. And David, are you a musician? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
So we didn't even talk about that.
But he's part of the Procora band.
I've always played something for a long time. They didn't have a pianist, and piano is like my second instrument. Okay. And I would have to do that. And that was really stressful for me. But now I'm doing what I love. I'm on the acoustic guitar, and that's where I fit in this. I sing too. I've written some of the songs that we've actually recorded in Spanish. That's also been, you know, has been part of the event, you know, different things like that.
I love that you're involved in it and that you guys are collaborating together and then also able to bring this out to the world, to the community. Well, thank you guys so much for this time together. I like to ask just a fun question to wrap us up. And that is, what is one of your favorite things right now?
Yeah, well, okay. I guess one of my favorite things, to kind of keep it on the theme, but this is legit. One of my favorite things is when I am on the platform playing the guitar, part of the band, and then see my two daughters dancing alongside with their mother. That has got to be literally one of my favorite things, you know, to be able to see all these generations, you know, me participating in my way. I don't dance, but me participating in my way and watching them and us as a family all being part of that, because they're my girls now are both in the event with us and everything. So they're on the same stage that we are. So that's got to be one of my favorite things.
That's
literally
so cool. I love it. I love that so much. How about you, Zoe?
Yeah, I think pretty much what David is saying right now, seeing our family being so involved and being part of this event and so many activities together, working together. And people get so inspired, you know. And I do really think being, like he says, in a platform, being all together, and it is one of my favorite things right now.
I love it so much. Yes. Well, thank you both so much for being here today. I'm glad we were able to meet and get to do this conversation. And I would love to let people know how they can connect with you guys and hear more about the event, you know, if they happen to be in the area or want to just reach out and hear more. So what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. It would be Procora Oficial.
Yeah, Procora Oficial is Oficial.
Perfect. Okay.
It's
in Spanish. You got to type Spanish. So.
And I'll link to it as well. So.
Or on Instagram, Zoé Zuno. Facebook, Zoé Zuno.
Yeah, David M, like Michael Golden. David M Golden. You can find me on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, that's perfect. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and just blessings to you as you continue this work. Hope to continue following along with you guys in your journey. So thank you again.
No, thank you for having us. Thank you for for thinking of us and for the opportunity to share. And we really appreciate you.
Yes, we
enjoyed it.
all the links, full show notes, and additional resources on our website, creativeimpactpodcast.com. If you're interested in supporting the show, some great ways to do that are to share it with a friend, to rate and review wherever you're listening, and then also if you're interested in giving financially, you can check out our Patreon community where you get bonus content each month and have a special part in helping make this podcast possible. You can access our Patreon community on the link at our website or by going to creativeimpactpodcast.com/PATREON. Thank you all so much for listening to the Creative Impact Podcast. The music for the show was produced by Michael Cash. Until next time, remember that you were designed to create. You were made to inspire. Continue living with purpose and making an impact. I'll see you next time, friends.